Each Tuesday in February, we take some time to review the answers to last week's trivia questions. And we actually had over 200 of you participating so far in this year's contest, but only 10 of you got all of last week's first 5 questions correct. Okay, without further ado, let's start reviewing some of these questions and revealing the answers. Question 1 we asked on Groundhog Day, and it was all about the deepest snowpack that was measured at the closest currently active co-op site to Gobbler's Knob. And the correct answer for question 1 was C, 21 inches, nearly 2 feet for that snowpack. What you needed to know here was that the closest co-op site that's still currently active to Punxsutawney is about 18 miles as the crow flies to the west over in Armstrong County. That's the Putneyville Dam. So Ben Repper was doing some data sleuthing to find that deepest snowpack on Groundhog Day at that observing site. It actually occurred back on Groundhog Day in 1985. 21 inches was the snow depth. So that was the answer for question 1. Question 2 was asking about a sizable meteorological object that flew into a neighborhood, turning out to be the size of a small shed. What was it? So your options here: a weather balloon, a radar dome, satellite dish, or instrument shelter. The correct answer for question 2 was B, a radar dome. And here were some of those snapshots. This occurred in a neighborhood outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. And you can actually see it was quite large, the size of a small shed. Really was one of those things where a lot of folks in this neighborhood quite startled by this mystery dome that appeared. Now, it was not the same type of radar, WSR-88D, that we use for detecting precipitation types or tracking storms. This was actually from a defense contractor nearby that had to go and collect that dome after the severe storms blew through. But still quite remarkable in that neighborhood, and radar dome, the correct answer for question 2. Moving on to question 3, this was about blizzard warnings for the U.S. Gulf Coast last January, which included the city of Baton Rouge. They had their snowiest day since 1892. Including this event, how many blizzard warnings have been issued by the NWS for southwest Louisiana and southeast Texas? And between all of these answers here, the correct one was A, 1. What you needed to know, this event was quite remarkable. I was down for the American Meteorological Society conference in January of 2025, and just about a week later, some places like New Orleans ended up picking up close to a foot of snow. Here are those blizzard warnings that were hoisted right along the Gulf Coast. You can actually see the snow depth reported in many of these stations along the Gulf Coast, some of which were actually double digits, a very rare snowfall for this part of the country. Ben Knoll tweeted out actually last January a snapshot of all the blizzard warnings and the last time those blizzard warnings had been issued. Where you see the white showing up here across the Carolinas and the Deep South, that actually indicates Weather Service offices that have never issued a blizzard warning, at least as have been tracked. You can see, though, the little gray shading here, 0, not including the 1 that had been issued for this particular event. So 1 was the correct answer for question 3. Moving on to question 4, which of the following measures of tropical cyclone activity was above average in 2025? And the key here was Northern Hemisphere, not just the Atlantic Basin. What we were looking for was A, the number of named storms. And this was taken right out of an edition of WeatherWise at the end of the year, where John Neese was recapping tropical storm stats. He was looking at some of the data like this from the folks at Colorado State, tracking averages and then the observed values for 2025. You can see for 2025, we were actually above average for named storms in the Northern Hemisphere, on par for hurricanes, a bit below average for major hurricanes, and below average for ACE, or that accumulated cyclone energy. But we were above average for named storms. That's why that was the answer for question 4. And then for question 5, a 2025 severe weather episode in southern Michigan was a challenge for the surveyors working to assess the damage and then eventually estimate the wind speed after the storms. What did they encounter? What was the problem? The correct answer for question 5 was B, the home was already repaired. So these were some of the snapshots of when the surveyors went out a day or two later after the storms blew through. This is what they encountered. You see an Amish home in Branch County, Michigan was damaged and quickly repaired. They also saw a barn that had been damaged and was also beginning some of the repairs there. So it's more difficult for the surveyors to assess just how fast the winds may have been with a particular storm event. They were able to eventually piece things together, and that damage occurred by what they estimate to be an EF1 tornado with winds of around 100 miles an hour. But in their survey report, they did detail that an Amish property had been damaged, but the wind speed could not be estimated due to repairs already completed. Same thing with a Amish home with repairs already completed upon their arrival. So that's why that was the answer for question 5. Remember, we've got some great prizes at stake this year in the contest. The third place prize will be a cozy collection, including some Weather World mugs, some hot chocolate, and a few books, including one about the Gettysburg campaign and the weather during that event from our very own Dr. John Neese. Also a book about Laura Ingalls Wilder from Dr. Barbara Bousted, somebody we interviewed here on the show last year. Second place prize is a Weather World swag collection, so a hoodie, a beanie, a t-shirt, an umbrella, and a 40th anniversary ball cap. And our grand prize this year is the Ambient Smart Weather Station, generously donated by a longtime viewer. We're also going to throw in a Weather World umbrella and a 40th anniversary ball cap. So some great prizes at stake. You need to have at least 10 correct over the course of this contest to be in the running for the drawing for some of these prizes. Good luck. Many more questions on the way this month, and we'll be back in just a moment with more.